In a high-profile child pornography case involving a teenage girl, a publication ban remains in place. Her father is speaking out against that ban. The girl died after attempting to commit suicide last year. A digital photograph of her allegedly being sexually assaulted had been passed around at her school. Because of the court order, the two accused, who were underage at the time, cannot be named, nor can the victim or her father. We are not breaking that ban, but I spoke with the victim's father on camera earlier today. In accordance with the law, I'm not going to identify my guest. I will refer to him as Sir. Sir, why do you want the publication ban on your daughter's name lifted?
I'd like to have it lifted mainly because I don't think it serves any purpose whatsoever, and also because we've done an awful lot of good things in our daughter's name, and we're trying to build a legacy and try to get something good to come out of her death rather than just have it fade off into oblivion. We've done an awful lot of good work. Her name is very well known across Canada and even in other places around the world. You know, so we're combating cybercrime, cyber abuse. We're also trying to get, you know, more positive steps made for victims of sexual violence and sexual assault. Her name is a big part of that, and to have a publication ban on it is really, to us, too little too late. It's very confusing. It's disheartening. I know that she would have been absolutely outraged by it. She wanted to go to the media. She wanted to have her story told.
Where is the opposition coming from?
The opposition, I believe, comes from a group of people who have been involved with the recent sexual assault case in Halifax. They've come to the man's defense, and they're very vocal, and someone in that case named the victim. And that someone who named the victim has been charged with violating a publication ban. So these people in this group are thinking, well, to violate that ban, you have to charge everyone who violates every other ban. No one is going into the police reporting the publication ban in this case in order to protect my daughter. I think the only people who should ever walk into a police station and make a complaint like that would be myself or her mother.
What's your reaction to the fact that another young woman who was sexually assaulted, your daughter's assailants were never charged with sexual assault. It was child pornography. What was your reaction to Rehtaeh Harper and her family in Manitoba making the decision to put their daughter's name out there in an effort to find her attackers?
Well, I guess it goes along the same lines. They wanted their daughter's name to be mentioned because it would bring about justice. And it's no different than that with our daughter's name. We're just simply looking for some justice in this case, and we're also looking to make a positive change. Naming their daughter in that case was a positive thing. It was the right thing to do, and it was done. It was done right away. Where here in Nova Scotia, it would be the right thing to do, but the Crown's not moving on it. Just one more thing with this justice system, with this Justice Department, and one more thing with this whole case that just leaves us absolutely heartbroken. And you know, we've had enough. We've had enough nonsense and garbage, and we've had enough people just passing the buck, shifting blame, not doing their jobs, not doing the right thing, not stepping up, and we are sick to death of it. This ban absolutely is just, it's almost like the icing on the cake of a disaster. And if the Justice Department, the Public Prosecution Service, wants to have any semblance of transparency when the review takes place and they end up having to answer some questions, then they need to make a decision, and they need to make it very soon, because to me it's starting to look every day like there's something to hide here, and the publication ban is only serving the people who have something to hide.
What tough questions do you think they need to answer?
Questions as to why these child pornography charges weren't laid in the first place. I mean, if they had been, the response had been what it should have been, I may have my daughter with me still today. They could have stopped that photo from spreading. They could have held people accountable for it within days of it happening, and instead they just sat back and watched this happen without doing anything about it.
Why do you say, because you make this very plain in your op-ed, you say you have two questions to this day that remain unanswered. Why didn't they charge then, and why didn't they charge anyone with sexual assault?
Yeah, why didn't they charge anyone with sexual assault is obviously a pretty big question that we have. I mean, you put the photograph and you put it in the context of what is going on in it, and this is described by the Crown in the case My daughter is hanging out a window. She's throwing up because she's intoxicated and someone is having sex with her in that position. We also know for a fact that she was carried to that window and she was carried away from it. So for them to have this kind of information and to turn around and go on national TV saying that they have no evidence to substantiate a charge of sexual assault, to me is just beyond any kind of reasoning at all for justice. There is no way what's going on in that photograph was consensual. My daughter was being raped in that picture, and we want to know how the Crown could have evidence like that, powerful evidence like that, and turn around and tell the police that they don't think there would be a chance of conviction in this case, and then to have the police call us up and actually say to my daughter that they don't have enough evidence. To me, come on, I mean, what kind of evidence would you possibly need in a case like this? That evidence was just overwhelming.
Yeah, because the laws in this country are, if you're too drunk to consent, if you're drinking or you're unable to consent, then you can't possibly give your consent and it's considered sexual assault.
That's exactly what I mean. And you know, we know the state that she was in because the people who were there at the home have said that to us. One of the males involved, the one who just recently pled guilty to the child pornography charge, he's even come out and declared that she was throwing up, that she was sick, that she had to be carried around the house. And just because he's sitting there saying, but you know, we had sex with her like that, but we didn't rape her. That to me is his misunderstanding of what consent means, and I believe that that's exactly what plays a big role in this. You have some youth who don't know what consent means, but that doesn't mean that they didn't rape somebody, and that's exactly what they did here.
What advantage would having her name out in the public be to those in authority, in your opinion, to the police, to the Crown?
I think that having her name out there in public and having it associated with this case will go an awful long way to showing Canada that Nova Scotia can be a leader when it comes to issues of sexual violence, sexual assault, violence against women, and cyber abuse. Her name is completely synonymous with those issues. There's been a lot of very positive changes made in Canada because of her name, and I'm not just talking about law, I'm talking about people who stand up for each other, which is what our plea has been to a lot of high schools. And we hear back from youth, teachers all the time saying that is exactly what is happening in their schools now. And that's a good thing, you know. I think my daughter deserves that. I think when she was alive, she didn't get any semblance of justice. At least her death may not be in vain. It may help somebody else. It would be a good thing. It would be the right thing to do. But to try and make changes like I did a couple days ago, talking before the Senate committee, you know, and they can't say her name, and I can't say her name, and they're trying to do something with laws here in Canada in her name without actually even being able to talk about it. To me, it's just wrong. She should never have been silenced. It was not her wish to be silenced.